Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be more consistent with posting, so please, if you weren't already subscribed, please subscribe and stay tuned for a lot more economics, finance content and anything corporate related. Now in this video, I want to talk about economic consulting. So when I graduated in 2019, that's when I finished my master's in finance and econometrics. My undergrad was in economics. So in 2019, I started working as a economic analyst, so graduate economic analyst within the economics and business analysis team for an engineering company. And now what I was doing was undertaking analysis for mainly the public sectors in areas in the infrastructure sector. So that's like aviation, road, energy. So those were the sectors that I was focused on. Now in this video, I want to talk about what is it like working in economic consulting. Is economic consulting for you? So I do have some questions here, so that's why I'm going to be looking down that I've written for myself to hopefully cover a lot of questions that people may ask about economic consulting. So I started my economic consulting role in 2019. I was there for a year and 6 months, and there's a lot that I learned there. But let's go into the first question. What I did as an economic consultant. So what exactly did I do? So as I mentioned, I worked within the economics and business analysis team. So I think the best way to explain what I do or what I did while working as an economic consultant is to give you an example of a project that I worked on. And I think that will give you a good sense of what I was actually doing. So basically the way it works is that you could be working on multiple projects at once. I think the most number of projects I worked on at the same time was maybe like 2 or 3. Bear in mind I was just a graduate, so probably as you become more senior you'll be taking on multiple projects and also probably managing people. But as an analyst I was working like maybe 2 projects out at most. And one of the projects was, for example, we had like a public sector client, and usually our clients are like councils. Those are the client base I worked with a lot. And one of the things they would want to do is like build a new road. Now let's say they want to build a new road or a cycling lane. They will come to us to do the cost benefit analysis, because it's through the cost benefit analysis they will be able to get funding. They can justify the funding. So we come in, we do the cost benefit analysis. Now the cost benefit analysis is not only monetary benefits or cost, but we also look at economic benefits and cost. So an economic benefit could be, if you create a cycle lane, people can cycle more and it improves their health. People have a route to get to work. So if you build a new road, there's another route to get to work quicker. So there'll be new links for people to get to a particular location, so more people are willing to apply for a job in a certain area. So those are like the economic benefits we look at. So how do we actually measure these economic costs and benefits? Well, a lot of the analysis I was doing it on an Excel spreadsheet. So an Excel spreadsheet where like normally there's usually a template set out, so a template that we've already used or someone has already used on a previous project that the team has worked on, and then I use that template to then build a cost benefit analysis. Now it's possible for us to work on a project or get a specific project that's a bit unique and it's a bit different, and it might not fit the template that's already existing, so you need to build like a new model from scratch. So if you don't like spreadsheets, then economic consulting is probably not for you. But in a nutshell, that's what we do. So I've worked on projects that include bridges, that include building a new road, projects that include like train stations. Those are the kind of projects I've worked on. I hope that kind of clears what is economic consulting. Doing economic cost benefit analysis on an Excel spreadsheet, calculating the cost and the benefits that that project will produce over the span, over the period, and we make sure we try to encounter every type of cost and every type of benefit. Obviously, we need to factor in other macroeconomic factors that can affect the cost benefit analysis, so like inflation, interest rates. So obviously there is some kind of predictive tool that we use, and a lot of economic consulting also involves like doing market research. So there might be certain things that we need to be able to fully understand the cost benefit analysis. There might be some sources that we need. So like there are some unique projects. So I think I can't remember exactly what project it was there, but there was a project that included understanding the cost benefit of putting in a cycle lane, and there were some information we were trying to get to be able to quantify specific type of benefit, and so we have to do research to find that kind of information. So this is just going on Google and typing in different things to be able to find what we want. So there's a lot of like online research that you do. Sometimes you may not have the answers there, and you actually have to go online and start searching, which is not something I do in my current role in banking. It is something I did a lot in economic consulting, a lot of research, a lot of like using different sources and making sure that you quote your sources. What's really important when you build these spreadsheet models is putting on assumptions there. So all the assumptions you've used, what are they? So you need to get into the mindset of like all the sources you've used, all the assumptions you've made. You need to make sure you've noted it down, because that's the first thing whoever's reviewing that model will want to know. And obviously when we send it to the client, they want to know what assumptions, because sometimes we will need to tweak the assumptions, because obviously assumptions are important. We're saying that this is the cost or benefit of the project over the next, let's say 5 years, if that's how long the project is going to last. Now they need to understand what assumptions have been put in place. So it's there also to help back what you're doing, because you want to be as transparent as possible. So let's go into the next question. What I enjoyed about economic consulting. What did I enjoy? I think what I enjoyed about it was the fact that I was working on Excel a lot. I do like building models. I do like numbers, crunching numbers, forecasting. So I really enjoyed that. There was a project that I was going to work on, but I didn't really get a chance to work on it, but it would have been something that I would have loved. So it was being able to quantify or being able to predict the economic growth of Dubai in the next 10 years or something like that. Like that would be something I would love to get involved in. But I didn't get the opportunity, but that was a project that someone was working on, just to give you an idea of other projects. So that another thing I do like is the fact that every project is different. So even if you don't like a project, how it's working or how it's going, just know that that project will end and you will have another project to work on. So it makes your work life, I guess, more interesting and different, because you're always working on something new. What didn't I enjoy? Well, as you know, I left economic consulting and moved into finance and banking. So there were things I definitely didn't enjoy. I think the number one thing I didn't enjoy was the fact that we use timesheets. So basically, you have to account for the 8 or 9 hours a day that you work, and accounts of it by putting placing hours on the different projects you're working on, which can be quite frustrating, because let's be honest, you don't spend the 8 hours working on a project. I believe that some of the hours you spend each day, you work to develop yourself, to understand things in general, to read things, even like looking through emails, getting back to people, answering team messages. You're on calls all the time, or you're doing training, trying to understand topics. I remember there are times where I've spent a lot of time on a spreadsheet just understanding how a formula works. So it is kind of difficult, and then sometimes you can have downtime. That's another thing I didn't enjoy. So when I had downtime, when I have downtime, I rather spend that downtime improving my skills, or going over projects that I've done before, or reviewing other people's work, or just doing something meaningful. But no, what I had to do was so they put me on a random project where I had to create CVs for people. So one thing within economic consulting, before they put you on a project, you have your own, like everyone has a CV, and they send that CV off, I believe, to the clients or the project manager, so they can decide who's suited for each project or whatever. So I had to spend time updating people's CVs, and I did not enjoy that. I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but I'm an economic graduate. I have a master's. Put me to use, or let me, if you don't have anything productive for me to do, let me spend my time actually training and upskilling myself. So I didn't really like that. They can put you on random tedious tasks if you don't have anything to do, and then when you have downtime, you have to record it And then there's this whole thing, because they don't want people to have a lot of hours where they're doing nothing, they then just assign you to random things. And I did not enjoy that at all. Another thing I didn't enjoy with economic consulting was that there was this thing called the GDP that I had to do. And it was like a, how can I explain it? It's like a program. So it's a program you go through while you're during the graduate program. And it's like, it's a series of questions basically that you have to answer over the time. I think the graduate program was, I believe, 2 or 3 years. I think it was 2 years. And there are these like set of questions that you need to answer, and the questions are related to like projects and economic consulting and just about the role. But I didn't find it beneficial. I felt like it was kind of a time waster, because to me, like, if I was, I don't know, doing an accounting qualification while I was working, obviously that's beneficial. That's something I can actually take and use somewhere else, wherever I go to a different country. But the program that we were working on was only specific to that particular role and to that particular business, that it's not like I can go somewhere else and say, hey, I completed this specific program. It was a lot of time was spent on it, and yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't find it useful, and it didn't even help me in my specific role. So I didn't enjoy that at all. Another thing I didn't really enjoy, I think I realized quickly that working in infrastructure wasn't for me. Obviously, the cost benefit analysis to understand the benefits of building a road, a cycling, that was interesting. But that project on like predicting the economic growth of Dubai, that sounds more interesting to me. So I realized quickly that I like finance. I like things that are more, understanding like maybe other countries and the economic conditions in other countries, as opposed to working on specific infrastructure projects. So I just felt like infrastructure wasn't an industry I really had much interest in. And I wanted to focus on understanding financial products, looking at our company's balance sheet, all of these things that I thought I would somehow get exposure to in this role. I don't know, in that role, I don't know why. But when I quickly realized that, listen, this is not what you're going to be doing in this role, then I realized that, yeah, this was not for me. So next question, skills gained. So I actually have my phone here where I'm going to go through some of the skills I've learned. So research analysis, obviously you're going to be really good at researching and using different sources of data and understanding what source of data to use and not use. And this is really good, especially if you want to build your career in economic consulting. This will definitely be useful and something you can put on your CV, something you can use and leverage in any type of economic consulting role. Market analysis, quantitative and qualitative analysis, that's a very good skill. You'll understand how to use Excel spreadsheets a lot, which is a extremely important skill in any field, especially in economics and finance. One thing about economic consulting, when you specialize in a specific field, it can go a long way and you can get a premium for that. So the fact that you're working in a specific field and you're specializing in how that field is and how it behaves, and you're exposed to different projects and you've built models for these different circumstances, that's something you could definitely leverage. So I would say I gained skills in understanding different infrastructure projects. So obviously strategic thinking. Okay, and then also there is a format we follow when it comes to writing business cases. So there is like a industry standard when it comes to writing business cases, and experience writing business cases, that again, that's great for your CV. So that is something I did learn while working in that role. And the next one, advice for others who want to join this field. I think advice is, I would say you need to be very patient. You will be put on projects that you don't necessarily really like. You'll be told to do things that are quite tedious, but overall you need to understand that you will gain that experience. You will gain the skills. You will have that opportunity to work on those projects that you really like, that you feel like will upskill you, because over when, even though I've only worked in economic consulting for a year and 6 months, and I sat back and I looked at all the things that I've done, I was like, oh wow. In the moment, you'll be thinking, oh, I'm not learning that much, or everything's moving slow. But over time, it accumulates. You pick up things that you don't even realize that you're picking up. So definitely be patient. I say, no matter what the project is, even if you don't like it, do well in it, because when you do well in those projects, that's when people start recommending you. Your name, you become popular. One thing about economic consulting, especially in that particular role, it's like, it's weird. It's like, even though you're in a job, it's like you still need to prove yourself to get more jobs. And the more jobs I mean is projects. So that's essentially why we have a CV, even though we're already working in the company. In economic consulting, you have people with very different skills because of the projects they work on. So the projects you work on is very important. So definitely do well on every project, whether you like it or not, so then you can get recommended for the projects that you really want. Also, with economic consulting, you have the opportunity to speak to people not only in the particular office you're working in. So I worked in the Birmingham office, but I had opportunities to work on projects with people from the London office and different offices, which again is really good for networking. And that's where you talk to other people and gain access to working on projects. Depending on what city you work in, so different cities get different projects. And I believe the London office got the projects that I really wanted to be on, so the more analytical projects. So that's what I would say. Definitely excel, make sure you master it. Do not be scared to work on projects that are like very challenging, because this is how you better yourself. Your writing skills is very important. Oh, that's another thing, it develops your writing skills. I don't write as much like reports now working in finance as I did when I was working in economic consulting, but it is really important. Especially as you become more senior, whether you're working in economics or finance, you will start to realize that, oh, you need to start writing reports, because you need to present things to people, you need to explain things. So you're not an analyst anymore. The analysts are doing the like very analytical, detailed work, and then now you're like kind of trying to explain that, and you need to explain those things in reports or in like through presentation slides. So I did a lot of that working in economic consulting, and I would say don't shy away from it. Really use it and try to develop yourself in those areas. I think that's all the advice I have for now. But in my next video, I will actually sit down, because I do have my economic consultant CV. So I will sit down and go through every single project I've worked on, what I did, what skills I gained, what it involved, and so on. But this is the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you have any questions below, or if there's any type of videos you want to see on my channel. Bye.